Okay. Arrays. Right. Who can remember, okay, what array is? Yes. Okay. So when you want to store data, okay, you can store the data in a where can you store the data? In a variable. Okay. But imagine you want to store more than one piece of data. You want to store lots of data, but they're similar data types. I want to store lots of marks, for example. I want to store lots of them. I have to create lots of variables. That's not very efficient, is it? Of course not. So this is where the array comes in. If you want to store data, okay, multiple data of the same type, okay, instead of creating many variables, you can just create one data structure, okay, array is a data structure, one data structure, and then you can put, okay, each piece of data within each element, okay. So an array has many locations where you can store data. So just to visualize what it looks like, okay, so it looks something like this. An array, like I said, can have one name and many elements, okay. So array will look something like this. You can call it an array, name one array, let's call it marks, okay. Imagine I want to store marks, and within that array I can have many elements, okay. So you can have many number of elements within there. So the first element, can anyone remember the first element? How is it identified? 0, okay. So the first one is 0. So if you want to store any data or access any data, you start with the first one. In Visual Basic, the first element is always 0. Then the second one is 1, and then you have 2, and then you have 3, and you have 4, and so on. Okay? Is that understood? Now, if I want to store anything in an array, I have to mention the name of the array, and then I have to mention where do I want to store it. Do I want to store it in element 0, element 1, element 2, element 3, or element 4? I have to specify. And same thing, okay, when you want to view it, when you want to see it, what's inside it, you have to mention the name of the array, and then you have to mention the name of the elements that you want to see. Is that understood? Okay, so the array structures, okay, array structure is a data structure. Just to recap, array is a data structure that can store a group of data values of the same type under one name, okay. And each piece of data in an array is called an element. Each element can be accessed using its position, or also known as index, in an array. Is that understood? Okay. So what we need to do first is obviously declare the array. So how do you declare the array? What's the first thing you need to do? Dim. Okay, just like you actually declare a variable, it will be the same. The first word you write dim, and then you have to name the variable just like you would name name the array just like you would name a normal variable. So let's call it marks, and then the next thing you need to do is to indicate how many index or how many elements do you want for your array. So suppose obviously we want 4 elements or 4 index. What we need to do, okay, if you write 4, okay, it will give you, how many will give you? 5, because of course the 0 will be counted. So therefore in total you're going to get 5 if you write 4. If you want 5, you just write 4, 0 is counted, and you get 5 index, okay, or elements. And then you need to declare what sort of data type would you want. Okay, so we're going to store marks, therefore we will say integer. Okay, so now you have declared the array called marks, and we have inside this array we can store up to 5 pieces of data in there. Okay, because each element is capable of storing one piece of data. So if I want to store data within this array, what I need to do is I need to mention the name of the array and then mention which location I want to store the array, piece of data, which location I want to store that number. So for example, if I want to store, okay, a number within the first index of this array, I need to write the name of the array, marks, and then I need to indicate which location do I want to store the number in there. So then the first index of this array is location 0, and then I just simply write equals, and then I just write the number. Okay, so suppose I want to store mark 78 inside this element. Okay, I just write simply number 78. Well, so what this means is basically you have this array, okay, and inside it's got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 index. In other words, 4 elements, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 location, which is 0 included, which is 5. And inside the location 0, I am storing 78. So it looks something like this. Okay? Is that understood? Yeah. Okay. What happens if I want to put another mark, another number inside the second one? What do I have to do? Exactly, yes. If I want to store another mark, I write the name of the array, and then I need to indicate which location I want it. In this case, I want it in location 1, and I want to store another number. Okay, let's give 67. Okay, so now, okay, for this array marks, in location 0 I have 78, and in location 1 I have 67. Okay, that's how it looks like. At the moment, in location 0 I have 78, location 1 I have 67. What do I have in location 2? Nothing. It's empty at the moment. There's nothing at the moment. If I want to put another number, okay, another mark into location 2, I have to do the same. So if I write the name of the array, and then if I give the name of the location, and then I give a mark to the location, I store the mark that I want. Okay? What number would you like? 85. Okay, let's have 85. So now in location 2, we have 85. Let's complete this one again. Let's complete the array. Marks, location 3. What should we put in location 3? 2. You can't have more than 100%. Okay? All right, let's do 49. Okay, not so well, this student. Right, and then last one, marks, location 4. Okay, what should we put? Let's put 97. Let's get a good mark on this one. Right, so now if you look at this array, on location 0 you have 78, location 1 you have 67, location 2 you have 85, location 3 you have 49, and location 4 you have 97. Okay, so that's how this array looks like. That's how this array looks like. If I want to display, okay, if I want to display any index or any elements, okay, within this array, I can just simply write console.writeLine, and then all I need to do, write the name of the array, and then write the location down. Suppose I want to display what's inside location 2. Okay? Now if I run this program, what do you think it will be displaying? Okay, just the number 85. Okay, let's check if it does that. Okay, it will just display just the number 85. Okay, you can see it's displaying 85. Is that understood? Okay, So we know how to store data inside an array. We know how to display data from a particular location, okay, from an array. We can also ask the user to enter these values. We don't have to input it ourselves. The programmer doesn't have to store data. Okay, if you want the user to store data, also you can do the same. Okay, so imagine I want the user to replace, okay, these existing values. Okay, I'm just going to ask the user to enter marks. Okay, so how do I display a message to the user? Console.WriteLine. Okay, make it console.write, make it look nice. Enter, okay, marks. So now the user will enter marks. Where do I want to store it? Suppose I want to store it in the first one. So what do? Marks, open bracket, location 0 equals console.readLine. Now what this program will do, okay, it will display this after. When this program actually runs, it will of course store these values first, unless I get rid of this section. If I don't get rid of this section, it will store all these values inside each location. But that doesn't matter. Soon as it hit and displays this, okay, soon as it displays this and the user enters a number, the value will be automatically stored in marks, array marks, location 0, which means it will be replaced by this. Okay, it will be replaced by whatever the user enters. Yes, it makes sense? Understand? Okay, so if I let's just put it one more line just to check. So if we just put, for example, if we do console.WriteLine, and if we display marks, open bracket, and location 0, close bracket, if we run the program, and if we ask the user to enter a number, okay, let's say the user enters 99. If I press enter, you will display this line and show you what's inside array, marks, and location 0. Even though when the program runs in the beginning and it stores 78 here, it should say 99. Can you see? It says 99. Is that understood? Okay. Right. Of course, I can do this. I can store this individually, one by one. I can do this. Again, I can make another line, another mark in another location. I can just simply write the location 1, and I can do the same in location 2, okay, and location 3, and then location 4, okay. Each time the user types in, you display enter marks, and then location 0, location 1, location. I can practically ask the user to store each number in each location just like this, and the user can enter those numbers, okay. But there is a better way of doing this. Instead of doing all this stuff, okay, if I don't want to do all this and I want the user to type in, you want the user to write the numbers, okay, what can I do? Any ideas? For loop, okay, yes. So how to create for loop? Of course, I will need a variable, okay. Let's call it I as an index, okay, as integer. I as an index for integer. I will use this, okay, to look at each individual index, okay. So what I do now is I create the for loop, okay, for I is equal to, I want the for loop to start from 0 to finish at 4. And what do I want to do? I want to repeat this, okay, part of the code inside the loop. Okay, now at the moment, every time this loops, where do you think the data would be stored? 0. Every time from 0 to 4 times, which means 5 times, this part of the code would be repeated, and every time the data would be stored into 0. Of course, I don't want that, do I? I want it to store into location 0, location 1, location 2, location 3, location 4. What is there, you can see, that has this kind of characteristics where it increments by 1 starting from 0. I, the variable I, yes. The variable I starts from 0, and when it hits this line, it does two things. In a for loop, whenever you have the beginning of the loop, when it hits the word next, it does two things. Number one, what does it do? Increments the variable I by 1. That's the first thing it does. The second thing it does, it checks if the I is greater than 4. If it's greater than 4, it will not repeat this. If it's not, then it will repeat it. Even if it's 4, it will repeat this. Okay? But the moment I becomes greater than 4, which is I becomes 5, then it will stop repeating. Okay? So, we know the variable I is constantly incrementing after one cycle. If we just place the variable I inside this, we know what's going to happen. Okay? Does everybody understand? Yes? Okay. The best way to explain this is if we step in to the program and you can see what's happening. So let's debug, step in. Okay? We're going to step into the program. Let's carry on. Step in. Okay, it creates array called marks with 4, including 0, which is 5 elements, and then it also creates a variable called I. Then the for loop starts. It says start a for loop from 0. You can see I is 0 at the moment. Okay, so when it starts from 0, and the loop will finish when the I becomes greater than 4. Okay, so start. You can see I is 0 because 0 was assigned to I. What does it do? Console.write, display this, enter marks. Okay, so it displays this. You can see on the user screen, enter marks is displayed. Then the next thing, you will prompt the user to enter mark. Okay, and then the mark will be stored inside where? Inside? Before that, the array called marks, in the index 0, because I is 0, I put I in there, so in the index 0. At the moment I is 0, so if I step in, it prompts the user to enter the mark. So the first number we had is 78. Press enter. Inside the array, if I pointed it inside the array and the location I, we know I is 0, you can see 78 has been entered. Okay, what happens here? There's two things happen here. Number one, before it checks, increments the I by 1. So in other words, this is almost like saying I is equal to I plus 1. That's what it does. So I will be incremented. At the moment I is 0. It will increment to 1. I 0 plus 1, I will become 1. Okay, so let's step and check the I. Yes, you can see if you point at it, you will see the I has become 1. Okay, they will display this, enter marks. Okay, and it displays enter marks. Then you will prompt the user to enter the mark. Okay, you can see, and the second mark was 67. Okay, press enter. If you point, you can see marks I, we know I is the location 1, is 67 is stored there. Again, same thing. I is assigned to, when it hits next, what does it do? I is assigned to I plus 1. So I will become 2. Execute, yes, I is become 2, and then you will also check whether it's greater than 4. It's not, therefore it will repeat. Display enter marks. Okay, it displays enter marks. Then the next thing will prompt the user to enter mark. Okay, it prompts the user to enter mark. So the next mark we had was 85. Okay, press enter. You can see in marks location I. Okay, we know location I, which is 2. Okay, the mark we have entered is 85. You can see 85 there. The I location I is 2, and the inside the array location I, the mark is 85 there. Again, if he hits that, it does the two things. The first thing, it increments I is equal to I plus 1, which will make the I 3. Okay, and it will check if it's greater than 4. If it is, you won't do it. If it's not, because it's not greater than 4, it will repeat. Okay, display enter marks. He did that. Prompt the user to enter the mark. Okay, you can see is prompting the user to enter mark. We had 49. Press enter. Okay, 49 goes into marks location I. Okay, and the location of I is 3. Now it will do the two things. Number one, increment I is assigned to I plus 1. Okay, so the I will become 4, and you check if it's greater than 4. It's not, it's equal to 4. Therefore it will repeat. Okay, display enter marks. It displays enter marks. Okay, then it prompts the user, okay, to enter mark. So this time we had mark 97. Okay, press enter. 97 should go inside the array marks location 4. Okay, location 4. What is the two thing it does here now? Increment. Number one, increment I is assigned to I plus 1. So I will become 5. Okay, the moment I becomes 5, it won't go back anymore, because 5 is greater than 4. You will not repeat anymore, and as a result you continue with the next part of the program, and then you will end the program. So of course we have, before I shown you how to enter marks. Okay, as a programmer individually you can assign marks to individual index or individual elements. Okay, here you can use a for loop to ask the user to enter marks, to store marks inside the for loop. You can also display it. Okay, if I want to display it, what would I do? What would I do? Same thing. Okay, let's just create another variable called x. Okay, to make it easier, and then write for x is equal to 0 to 4. Okay, and what do I want to do? I just want to simply display console dot, okay, that's to right line, so you can come in order in this way. So I just simply write, okay, simply write the name of the array marks. Okay, and then I put the index or the element I wanted to show. Because it's a loop, x will be repeating again and again. It will do exactly the same as what I is doing. So I can just simply put x, okay, and that will display, first will display marks, array marks, location 0, then it will display location 1, then it will display location 2, then it will display location 3, and then it will display location 4. Okay, if I run it, okay, whatever the now user type in, okay, you will do the same. We had 78, 67, 85, 49, and 97. Okay, can you see? Is displayed. This part is the second loop. First part is the first loop. This part getting numbers from the user, this loop, and then this is displayed from this loop. Right, is that understood? Everybody understand? Any question? Okay, stop.